and devotion. Call it a mom's adoration. Foundation, a special bond of creation. Ha!
All right, Student Union Study Hall, the last episode of the 2016-2017 college basketball season. Sad to see it go. I know y'all are sad to see us go, maybe. But we've had fun doing it regardless. And I guess we got to start off this episode talking about the national championship game. It wasn't the prettiest game we've seen all season, but I think that kind of sums up the season. We'll start with Austin. What do you think about the national championship game?
From a game perspective, it was a horrible game of basketball. I don't know anybody who, if that was just a game on in the regular season, you'd been like, wow, that sucked. Like, yeah, it was pretty close up until the end. I was disappointed to see, really the officiating was pretty awful, mostly just because, like, Zach Collins hardly got to play because anytime he breathed on somebody, it was a foul. I mean, Karnowski got in foul trouble. UNC's big guys got in foul trouble. And that was kind of the matchup that everybody's really looking forward to, was Karnowski and Collins against Meeks and Isaiah Hicks, and really didn't get to see too much of anything because it was pretty, I don't know, the officiating was horrendous. There are obviously a couple big missed calls late in the game. I mean, Kenny Meeks' hand was clearly out of bounds on that jump ball. But I don't know. I mean, Gonzaga had their chances. They just couldn't make a shot. They shot 38%, somewhere in that range. And so, I don't know. I thought that as good as this tournament had been, that was kind of an underwhelming end. I was hoping to see some more fireworks, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'll be that memorable of a national championship game, but oh well.
Luke?
Yeah, so I didn't really watch the game. I went to opening day up in Minnesota for the Twins, but I listened to it all. Yeah, I listened to it the whole way home, and it didn't actually. The play-by-play and color commentator on the radio didn't actually make it sound that bad. I don't know. I saw a couple of highlights from it. Once I got back to my house, all my friends that were watching it was like, "Oh, that was horrible. That was a horrible game. The worst game I've ever seen." And I think that's just a strong exaggeration on their part. But I kind of feel for Gonzaga. I mean, I don't think they'll ever get that close to winning a national title again. I mean,
yes, they will.
I
Have some faith, Luke.
It's been how many years? 20, and they've gotten the Final Four for the first time this year. I mean, and they had some pretty damn good players this year. And I mean, Few's a good coach, but they pretty much rely heavily on transfers a lot. But I'm also happy for North Carolina, because watching them lose like that last year, I was cheering for them. I wanted Marcus Page to get the Iowa boy, but just came up a little bit short, and it was a good redemption story for them. Considering I didn't watch it, I can't really break it down from like an analytics standpoint, but I don't know. Just it's tough to say that it was just horrible officiating and that the players didn't really have a lot to say on how it ended.
Yep, I tend to agree more with Austin on the fact that it was a little bit underwhelming considering the season we saw, because I feel like this whole season it felt like the whole thing was wide open. Like anyone could beat anybody at any time. You never knew who had a chance, and for all the upsets that happened, it's weird to see that it ended with 2-1 seeds playing each other, and then the Gonzaga, the underdog, wasn't able to pull it off, and we end up with a champion like UNC, who is honestly, like, you could tell me any year, like in 5 years, you could say pick who's going to be champion, and UNC is probably a good shot. They'll be in it. So kind of surprising, I guess, to see such a prototypical Final Four team win it all after such a surprising season. But that's how it goes, and I was still happy with the game. It was scrappy, like pretty much every game we've seen this season. A little bit lower scoring than I would have liked. But I think a lot of that has to do with the officiating. I don't think they really gave the players a chance to breathe. And then with everyone worrying about fouling out, it was almost kind of like a chess match, and we didn't really get to see the big guys bang like we wanted to. But speaking of refs, I guess that will bring us into our next topic. How fucking terrible was that officiating that game and this whole season? Some people saying that a lot of UNC bias in the championship game. I don't know about that, but definitely bad officiating. We'll start with Luke on this one. What do you think about the refs?
Yeah, so I said it. Like I mentioned, I didn't watch it, but everyone's bitching about the officials, and I'll give it to them. 27 second half fouls is just a hell of a lot of whistles being blown, and I saw somebody tweet after the game that parents everywhere are complaining that they're not letting them play. Well, yeah, whatever. Their job is to blow the whistle, and there were some clearly that out of bounds or Kennedy Meeks was out of bounds. I mean, I don't know how you missed that considering the officials looking right down at it. But once I got back to my house, I was informed by one of my friends who's a big Illinois fan that one of the officials that was in the Final Four, working the Final Four back in 2005, also he said there was some pretty shady officiating that year, and North Carolina also won the title, and he did it this year as well. So I'm not trying to start a conspiracy or anything, but I mean, it does smell a little fishy. But everybody just always bitches at the officials anyway, whether they do a good job or a bad job. I don't know.
Big takes with the inside scoop.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy in there. Austin, what do you think about that?
All I want to say is I would have loved to seen how Kentucky fans would have handled it if they got jobbed like Gonzaga did last night, because they thought John Higgins was bad. Get a lot of Ted Valentine. I mean, that game was. It sucks. And I mean, like, I feel like it's consistently in the Final Fours like this. I remember 2 years ago when it was like the Wisconsin, Kentucky, Wisconsin,
Duke.
Duke. But when they played Kentucky in the Final Four is what I'm talking about, the second time. It's like there were just some horribly missed calls there. There was one where Trey Lyles punched someone in the face, and then there was the shot clock violation. And it's just like, I don't know what the solution is besides to make college basketball refs full-time, because they are part-time. And it's not, this game wasn't an outlier. College basketball officiating is just not very good, and it never really has been, because you have a bunch of guys who, like, John Higgins runs a roofing company and he's reffing Final Four games. Like, if that's your part-time job, you're not going to be able to be fully devoted to it. And so, I don't know. I would like to see them go to full-time refs. I would like to see them just get better refs, and, like, I don't know. I felt like the refs really messed with the flow of the game last night, because even the times where they wouldn't call something, they would go to the monitor, and that just slows the game down and doesn't really get anybody a chance to get going. So I hated it. I hate college basketball officiating more than I hate anything else in my life, but it's life, I guess.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that just the level of expectations we have for these refs needs to increase. Like, they can't be owning, like, their own companies and having part-time jobs. I think they should just be held to a higher standard given how much is on the line in these situations. Because, I mean, people care about this just as much as they do about the NBA. And, you know, they put those guys through the ringer. So definitely officiating should be up to the level of play. And I don't think it's there quite yet. Austin, you also, funny point about Kentucky. If that would have happened to Kentucky, there would have been blood on those referees' hands. People would have been... I don't even want to know what would have happened in Lexington, but you know, I said it last week. I don't think we can be surprised because these refs, they've been terrible and nothing's changed. Nothing's happened that would make us think anything's going to change. Maybe this national championship game will spark some. I'm sure it will. To be honest, I can't see them not addressing this problem next season. So
there's one thing I know. It's that the NCAA is really good at handling big issues in a timely manner. So I'm sure they're going to get this right here in about 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, next 20 years, hopefully. Alrighty, moving on to our next topic. Sorry guys, I'm all lost on this.
Next year's champion?
Favorite moment?
I think we're favorite moment of the
Favorite
season.
moment.
That's a good one. Sorry, I got all this chicken scratch on my thing. But favorite moment of the season. We'll start with Austin on this one. Moment, run, streak, anything like that stands out to you?
Favorite moment of the season was far and away the peak of the Scott Drew era, which was the battle for Atlantis championship. Baylor was down 20 points with, I think, 13 minutes left, came all the way back and beat Louisville by 1. That game was incredible. Baylor obviously tried to sprint a marathon with this season and just flamed out in about January and then went quietly into the night in the NCAA tournament, as they tend to do. But that game was awesome. I'm obviously a little bit of a homer when it comes to that. I also, more like early season, I loved the Kansas-Duke game when Frank Mason hit that shot with about 2 seconds left. That was pretty crazy. But I don't know. A lot of good moments this year, but I'm gonna go with Baylor over Louisville just because that was my favorite.
Solid. Luke?
I'm going to be a homer just like Austin. I'm going to roll with the Hawkeyes. Late in the season, they were sitting at 15-14, and they really needed to win out to have a shot to make the NCAA tournament. And they went up to the Kohl Center in Madison, Wisconsin, and back and forth game the whole time. Jordan Bohannon, the freshman from the left wing, steps up with the biggest stones in the state that night and knocks down a huge tray to keep Iowa's postseason hopes alive. As you guys saw the reaction I had on that game, the video, it was just nuts. I love getting emotional over those. But aside from that, I'm going to give a little love here to TCU. They were pretty much a garbage program last year, and Jamie Dixon rolls to town, and they were they won the NIT this year, and that's a huge step up from where they were. So I'm just going to give it to TCU. That was one hell of an improvement they had this year.
Yeah, can't argue with those. I'm going to continue with the trend and obviously go with my boys at South Carolina on their amazing streak in the big dance, especially after, such a disappointing season. Because I was saying how good the team was all year, and just for them to go out early in the SEC championship and finish third, fourth area in the SEC, it's just disappointing to see that. But they really broke expectations, I think, in the dance. And if I had to narrow it down to one game, it'd be that win over Duke, probably narrowly over the win over Baylor, my newfound rivalry against Baylor that I've developed with Austin this season. So that was a nice one, but Duke probably takes the cake just because that was obviously the one that shocked the world, and that's when everyone knew South Carolina was the real deal, when they saw Grayson Allen and Luke Kennard down crying. But yeah, that's obviously the Cox had a great season, and that was my favorite moment. It was good to be actually involved in the season with my actual team.
No bias with those picks.
Oh, no bias at all. I think, fair, balanced commentary from all three of us. Moving on to this next one, which might... Oh, okay. Here's one that we snuck in here. Wichita State. Possibly going to the American Athletic Conference. They're voting on it. Austin, I think you said Friday?
Yeah, the vote's going to be on Friday. It's looking like they're probably going to get in. Obviously, they don't have a football team, but they can do everything else. Basically, they just want them because they're good at basketball. But
yeah, so leaving the Missouri Valley Conference, start with Luke on this one. What do you think this means for, I guess, the landscape of the NCAA and Wichita State, and is it important?
I think it's a pretty big move for the American Athletic Conference. I mean, they already have some big-name teams from a couple years ago when the Big East kind of shrunk down a little bit, but like UConn, Cincinnati, Houston, SMU, these are all pretty good teams. You throw Wichita State in there, who's just an extremely dangerous opponent to play for. If you put them in any conference, they'll win a lot of games. But I think it's a big move for them, and it puts them right up there next to the Big East. Not quite in the Power 5 school realm yet, but they're certainly making a case for being a pretty powerful conference. But for the Missouri Valley Conference, this is just awful news. I mean, this conference used to have Creighton. Wichita State's still there, but it looks like they're going to be gone. Those are big losses for that conference, and right now it's looking like usually Northern Iowa's good, Illinois State's pretty decent usually, and then Evanston made the Missouri Valley Championship game last year. I mean, it's really only a two-horse race once Wichita State leaves. I think it damages their conference a lot, and it's not good for them, but for the AAC, it just makes them that much better.
Yeah, I kind of think this is just the direction that college sports really are going as a whole, is that all of the good schools are being basically consolidated into the Power 5. And I mean, the Big East has some good basketball schools too, and the AAC is kind of getting there. But you look, the Mountain West used to be pretty respectable. I mean, they had TCU, and a couple other schools. Like this is just kind of the way that it's been going for a while. And I've seen a couple, particularly UConn fans on Twitter, very mad that WSU might go to the AAC, and they have a few arguments against them. Some of them are legitimate, some of them aren't. One of them, obviously, they don't have a football program, so that kind of throws a wrench in it when you have just basketball-only members in a conference that is also a respectable football conference. But another one I've heard is that they're a school that's basically just been propped up by one coach, like that Greg Marshall's basically just made that program. I would disagree with that. They were a good program before Marshall got there. They made the Sweet 16 with Mark Turgeon right before he took off for Texas A&M. And so I think that they're a good program. I think that they're much closer to being like a Butler than a George Mason. And so I think that they can, I don't know if they'll be like Final Four contenders every year, but I definitely think Wichita State could go compete. And honestly, if they're in the AAC next year, I think they're going to win the conference. And so I don't know if people are worried about that, but the most legitimate argument I've heard against him is that they're a terrible academic school, and that's going to bring down the reputation of the league. And I can tell you, for those of you who don't know, I grew up in Wichita. It's my hometown. Wichita State is a terrible, terrible academic school. That was like just the perennial fallback. Like, I think Kansas has like a 92% acceptance rate, and like Wichita State's everybody's fallback. Wichita State has a 95% acceptance rate. To get in there, you have to have a 21 on your ACT, or not. You don't even have both, or a 2.0 in high school. If you can't get a 2.0 in high school, you don't deserve to go to college. And
I should have applied there, gotten a scholarship.
Yeah, they probably would have paid you good money to just come exist there. Yeah, it's a terrible academic school, so if they're worried about that, but let's be honest, college athletics is about money. It's not about academics. So I think it's a good move. I'm excited to see Wichita State play teams that aren't Bradley and Drake every night. So
yeah, if only they cared about academics, and if we cared. But I think it's a necessary evolution for this team. I don't know how big of a step up it is, but it's definitely a big step up. And it's definitely a step up. When you look at the Missouri Valley Conference last year, I think it was Wichita State and Illinois State where they were at the top with like 17, 18 wins. And then the next closest team in the conference had 9 conference wins. And it's like that level of competition that doesn't make sense. You're not even – it's like you're playing on the easiest – it's like you're playing on semi-pro and Madden. And you're just not going to get anywhere at that. And Wichita State definitely caught some people's eyes this year. So I think Shocker's going to shock, and we'll see how they do in the American Athletic. But speaking of next season, let's stop talking about the small fries and start talking about the big dogs. Who do you guys think is obviously, I don't think even Vegas can predict this one, but who do you guys think will win the national championship next year? We'll start with Austin on this one.
All right, I'm really excited to make this pick. We already talked about him earlier in this show. I'm telling you right now, it is April 5th, 2017, and a year from now, the Wichita State Shockers will be cutting down the nets in San Antonio. Here's the thing. Hear me out. So Wichita State, according to basically every analytic you can go by, except for the committee because the committee sucks, was a top 10 team all year. I know entering the tournament, they were the 8th-ranked team on KenPom. They're not losing a single rotation player from next year. That's almost unheard of in college basketball for a team to be as good as they were and not have a single senior or anybody going to the NBA. That's unbelievable. They got Landry Shamet coming back. They got Marcus McDuffie. My favorite player in college basketball, Austin Reeves, is coming back. I think they're going to be unbelievable, especially now that they're going to be able to hopefully get some more games. If they go to the AAC, I mean, they're not going to get jobbed in the tournament like they did this year. They're going to have a chance to play SMU. They're going to have a chance to play Cincy, UConn, more legitimate teams like that. And so I see it. I think they were good enough this year. They could have gone very far in the tournament had they not had to play Kentucky in the second round, which, I mean, they lost on a last-second shot to a team that made the Elite Eight and gave North Carolina a run for their money and was like one shot away from the Final Four. And so I don't know. I think Wichita State was definitely one of the top 10 teams in the country this year. People were sleeping. I don't know what their Vegas odds are, but go throw $50 on it. I'm telling you right
Make
now.
you a millionaire.
Woo shock. Wichita State's doing it next year.
Bold prediction. What does Big Takes have?
When you told us you picked Wichita State before the show, I didn't really like it at all, but you made me a believer right there. So congratulations. But
Might have swung me.
yeah, a little bit. But I was looking at the teams and conference standings from this last year and what was going on, and I didn't really like a lot of the teams looking at them. But I'm going to roll with UNC, but this is if Justin Jackson returns. Justin Jackson's just a freak. Watching him in the NCAA tournament was just so fun. He's just such a big force out there. He's a big dude, lanky, he can shoot. And he looks like an NBA player coming off ball screens up top and just pulling the trigger on the tray. So I think North Carolina, but I'm going to throw in another team out there. I'm going to get heavily I'm going to take a lot of shit
Don't
for
say
this one.
Iowa.
I'm
No.
outside shot. Okay, I've been telling people this for a long time around here now, all season.
Here comes a Big Take.
This team, this Iowa Hawkeye team right now.
Oh my God.
No. Listen to me.
Actually,
Go
All right.
Hawkeyes. Let's hear it.
2 to 3 years down the road, I predict they're going to be in the Final Four, and I'm not even worried about that. I think it's going to happen 2 to 3 years from now. But they do have the potential to explode this upcoming year. I mean, they had 19 wins this season, and they started 4 freshmen, and they have the 6th man of the year returning that plays off the bench all the time. And this team has couple McDonald's one McDonald's All-American coming in this year, and then 2 coming in next year. I'm just saying.
Next year.
I'm just saying. Outside shot, Iowa makes the Final Four next year. Outside shot.
Maybe make the tournament or at least advance decently far in the NIT first, and then I'll believe in them. But that's ridiculous. That's the most homer pick I've ever heard in my life. Iowa's not going to win the national
It
championship.
doesn't surprise me Iowa made their way into this conversation somehow. I like how it started off with like 3 years down the road. Like Iowa might make the Final Four.
I said
that wasn't the question. But
I'm just saying they have an outside shot to make it next year.
Everybody has an outside shot to make it next year.
that is bullshit, and you know
on
it.
the Furmans, go Paladins.
I would pick the Paladins before I pick Iowa.
Oh, you are fucking wrong.
Alrighty. My pick is just so boring now. I'm just going with Vegas. Going with Kentucky at 10-1 odds. I mean, these guys, I doubt anyone's coming back, but they're like the X-Men or like the Power Rangers, like a new season. Every season there's just like a new class of guys that you're like, where the hell did these guys come from? And I think just with that system, the 6-month NBA training camp program, I think that still will lead to some success. And Coach Cal, always going to bring in the best talent, always going to find a way to put the best guys in the position to win. So I think Kentucky always has a shot. And while that's not Iowa or the Shockers, I am sticking with my gut. And I'm also, remember that I'm the one who went 7-1 this year on picks. I had to include that just because no picks, obviously, but devastating end. The first season I was forced to pick 2, or the first week I'm forced to pick 2 is when my perfect record gets spoiled. It was that UNC spread. What'd you boys finish at?
What was the spread on the North Carolina game again? Their Final Four against Oregon?
It was not.
You
It
lost
was
that
not
game.
foul.
Yeah, I picked because we split because I picked different than you guys.
All right, because I was 4-4-1 then.
So that makes me 5-3-1.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
so dominant season over here. I'm proud of that.
Hey, I finished hot. Finished hot. That's all that matters.
Finish hot. That's all you can say. If you go out hot, you went out the right
Just
way.
think, I'm giving you free money right now. I don't know what Wichita State is. I'm gonna look it up real quick, but I'm just handing you free money if you will go
Me
throw
calling
some.
my bookie.
If you're feeling ballsy, throw down a couple bills on Iowa next year, and I'll win
You
you
hate
some money.
yourself.
No, if you love making money, and everybody likes making money, so you might as well just
Hey, who doesn't
yeah, exactly.
love making money? But I can't think of a better way to wrap up this season than us promising you guys money with just the most bullshit picks ever. A great way to sum up this whole season. But I had a great time doing this. I think you guys will see us next season. Maybe college football. We'll see. You guys have any last words?
You can go.
Wichita State's 20-1 odds. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
There it is.
I just want to give moment of the year to the best game of either tournament to the Mississippi State women. Hell of a game right there.
Luke, our student union's new women's sports writer. You guys need to check it out. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in this season. It's been awesome. Sucks college basketball season's over, but we'll be back. Take it easy.
That one sucks.
Go Hawks. Three
This
years,
is Alex. What's up?
3 years down the road, $50 a piece. I'll do it. Both of you.
I don't like you're saying like then we take the odds or like because I don't even like to
What
call
if
them
we-
winning in 3 years. The odds are through the roof.
What if we just did it $100 straight up? So like I bet like winner gets 100.
So you're just telling me you'll give me $100 in 4 years?
3 years after Iowa
3
win.
years.
After
Yeah,
Iowa,
I would like some of that money.
that's
Yeah,
the,
I'll get in on this action.
what is that? The 2020 Final Four. Iowa will be. Yeah, 2020
Yeah, I'm in
Final
on
Four.
it.
Iowa's champions.
You're just giving us even odds.
One of my friends and I before the year made a bet that I'm going to Baylor make the Elite Eight in the next 2 years, and this was one of those years. But then,
Oh no.
he was talking so much shit the week before the South Carolina game. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna win this bet," and then we just shit the bed. So
That fucking kid Khalil who did Palmetto Rivals with me bet one of my friends who went to Carolina.